Yes.
If he wants to, he can stop the two children going back to America. It's his privilege to keep them in the UK. Now, if Harry brought them, there could be quite a big opportunity for him to be for both of them to be left in this country, not go back to their mother.
Prince Harry is on a new media blitz this time, most disgustingly against his own father King Charles. So he has used the cover of Hello magazine to do this. The headline there, fighting for his family inside Harry's mission to bring Archie and Lily back to the UK, an exclusive report. Well, as the Royal News Network posted about this, he should have considered his family before Oprah Netflix spare etc. Harry destroyed his relationship with his family for greed. He doesn't get to whine now.
We're going to have analysis on this from Prince Harry's biographer, Angela Levin, in just one moment. But I think first I need to take you through Harry's PR spin in this week's edition of Hello magazine and their exclusive report, which has clearly been briefed on the back of the Duke of Sussex, as they claim, winning a huge privacy battle in a landmark case against the Sun publisher. I mean, immediately there, you've even got a factual inaccuracy in the Hello magazine headline, because Harry didn't win. He settled. He settled because he didn't want to have to face people like me in court this week giving him some home truths. He settled because actually this is a man who has proven he is just about the money, maybe because of his wife. So I don't endorse this Hello magazine report, but I am going to take you through it. So I'll take you through the key parts anyway. So they say Harry's legal battles are far from over, however, with Harry now focused on taking the fight for his family's protection to court in April, and his next case that may prove decisive in his relationship with his father, King Charles. Harry's lawyers will appeal a High Court judgment upholding a Home Office decision to downgrade his security provision in the UK when he stepped back as a senior working royal in 2020. A friend tells Hello, the goal for Prince Harry is simple. He wants to ensure the safety of himself and his family while in the UK, so his children can know his home country and so he can help support his patronages and their important work. The Hello article goes on. Harry has not brought his children to the UK since the late Queen's Platinum Jubilee in 2022, meaning the King has met his youngest granddaughter Lilibet only once in person. Harry is said to believe his father should intervene on his behalf to have his full protection reinstated, but sources close to the King have said it would be wholly inappropriate for him to challenge a government decision. So could the stalemate finally be broken in the High Court this spring? If the Duke were able to successfully appeal the ruling on his security, it could pave the way for him to build bridges with his father and bring his children back to visit. The next case, and this is again from a source who they say has known Harry for many years, translation Harry, the next case is fundamentally important to him in terms of his family. So Angela Levin, I was disgusted by this piece of propaganda from Harry. I mean, let's think about the day it was released, Angela. The day it was released was the day that King Charles was at Auschwitz, the day that Prince William and Catherine were attending a very important Holocaust memorial service in the UK. The day they do that, Harry's team decide to drop this report, which is full of propaganda, in my view, from Harry. So I think, number one, the timing was disgusting. But actually, the most disgusting thing is the pressure that he is continuing to heap on his father, the King, to overturn a government decision, which the King cannot do and should not do, but also at a time when actually the King is still undergoing really serious treatment for really serious cancer. I mean, where does this guy get off? And I'm sorry, I think also, where does Hello magazine get off trying to claim that Harry is the one fighting for his family when actually he has spent the last 5 years trashing his family? They are my thoughts, Angela, but I'm very keen to hear yours.
Yeah, well, I'll give you the best one at the beginning and then we can go back on that. Now, the king, who is a regent, right?
Yes.
If he wants to, he can stop the two children going back to America. It's his privilege to keep them in the UK. Now, if Harry brought them, there could be quite a big opportunity for him to be for both of them to be left in this country, not go back to their mother. So I don't think that. I think this is all playtime because they must know that. And if they don't want them to be captured or even thought about, then they shouldn't be playing these sort of silly games.
Wow, Angela, that is absolutely fascinating, though.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
Charles has the power to do
yes,
that.
yes. He has the
And
right. He has the right to keep royal children. This has been rumbling along for years now, but people just put it under the bed because it's not very nice and you don't want to say that. But Harry keeps on saying this about his family. And so is he asking for it? Because Meghan's never going to come here. She says that all the time. She doesn't want her children, surely, to go away from her and not to see them. Surely these children need to stay where they can have a good school, which would be in America. The fact that they haven't met their family on their paternal side is entirely their fault. Harry doesn't want them to come because it's a punishment to his father. And it's very different from actually bringing children over so that they can get used to their family. It's nothing to do with that. He just wants to upset his father. But I think if he's not careful, if they really think about it hard, I would recommend it, but it's not my business, that you can keep these children and give them a life that is actually with their family. And Harry comes and he can see them, but he won't be responsible for them. It won't happen, I'm sure of that. But I think they're playing with fire and they're pretending that that cover is just disgusting, actually, because he knows very well that he has been disgusting to his father. And he just keeps on, as you just said before, trying to persuade the Home Office not to keep Harry being paid underneath the top level of protection. And he can't do that. He can ask them, but actually he's not in charge of the decisions. And if they did talk about it, it would be very, very quietly in the palace. Nobody would know. It's not something that would come up next day on the front pages. And I'm sure that the Home Office would say, actually, no, we don't want to give him all that because he's not a royal now. He's not actually working. And we can't use the people's tax to give him this huge protection. And that's what he's got to get. But the way he says it all the time, keep on saying it, it's easy to get the impression that Charles is being mean, he's being awful. He wants to see his children, but he doesn't really. And he's not helping Harry because they can't live unless they have the top grade protection. And that's all just made up. It's just horrible. And the way he's been disgusting about his father ever since he left, he can't imagine that his father would say, oh, come round, it will be lovely and wonderful. Of course he wants to see him. Of course he misses him. Of course he loves him. But he's not happy with what he's doing and how he treats his family. He's got to learn differently. And he won't. You see, he's always, unlike Meghan, he's the big shot. And what he wants to do has to be done because he's a prince. But there's lots of other things going on under the carpet that will stop this, I'm pleased to say.
There really are. I mean, it is interesting to me, though, Angela, that in the future, because let's be honest, we know that at some point in the future, this very dysfunctional marriage between Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, which has broken down, probably will formally break up. And it's fascinating to know that in the future, King Charles could use that power to try and allow Harry to have the children in the UK. But that's why I very much doubt that Meghan will ever allow the children to travel to the United Kingdom. Certainly not if there was any split between them, because that was one of the whole reasons that she wanted to have Harry in America. Now, of course, there's a whole other question, Angela, about these children in regards to the fact that I believe they need to actually be DNA tested in order to make sure that they have a right to be part of the line of succession. And that is something that King Charles should also be concerned about. Again, I know it's incredibly awkward, but we do know why.
Yeah, they know that. They know that. I mean, if you don't have royal blood, you can't be on the list of royals. And that's it. Very simple. But I don't think you can take a blood test unless things are very bad indeed. But the thing is that if there is a divorce, Harry is thrown out, as he very well might be now that Trump is in charge.
Oh, yes, I want to come to that in just a second, actually. Yes. But before we do, make your point.
Okay. Yeah, just before we do, then he won't be able to get into America ever. Now, will Meghan bring them over so that he can see them? I don't think so. So you have to think of these poor children who won't be able to see their father, and they're with them, they're just with their mother and a grandmother. They haven't got any other family there. And I did know and did see when I was writing Harry's book that he was brilliant with children. I don't know how he is with his own children, but he was absolutely brilliant with children. And he still is a bit of a child in him. And he was good fun. But if he goes off, I can't imagine Meghan giving up her days to look after them. She might love them a lot, but she'd get the Meghan cuddle, hug, and then she'd be off trying to make amends and friends with anybody she could.
Angela, I know that Meghan doesn't spend... Oh, there's the brilliant book. There is the brilliant book. But I know that Meghan doesn't spend much time with those children. I'll go into that another day. I will go into that another day, I promise. However, Angela, you mention Trump and the threat that Harry could be deported. Now, look, this is a complicated one because Trump is not going to want to deeply upset King Charles and Prince William, who he has a huge amount of respect for. However, he has been incredibly tough on the issue of immigration. We've got people who have not even been massively in support of Trump in the past, like Meghan McCain, the daughter of the late Republican presidential candidate John McCain, saying that if Trump deports Prince Harry, they'll actually put him on Mount Rushmore. And then Niall Gardner, the brilliant man of the Heritage Foundation, writing, President Trump's mass deportation program should include foreign users of illegal drugs. So, look, if you're Harry and Meghan, this is incredibly concerning because it doesn't take much to really anger Trump. And are they really going to be able to keep their mouth shut for such a long time in regards to American politics?
Yes, I agree with you. I think it's a very hard one. I mean, the determination to get those papers and read them is so strong that it will happen. But I totally agree with you that Trump will not want to upset the king, and he will not want to upset William. Now, that sounds a funny sentence, but actually, I think it would be awful for William to have this happen to his brother, even though he doesn't speak to him. It's shameful to happen. But Harry's made it his own thing to happen because he wrote about it. He said what he'd smoked and drunk and ate and all the rest of it in his book, Spare. And that was the most stupid thing he could do. So unfortunately, people get punished for what they do. And I think that it would be very difficult for Trump. I don't think he would do it very early because I think he has got an awful lot to do and that he'll have to decide He wants to come to the UK quite soon, and maybe he might have a quiet chat with the King and William again, and see what they think. Not exactly asking them what he should do, but talking around it. It's a very, very difficult one indeed, and you don't want to take those little children away from their father. But they've put themselves in a very, very stupid position. As I said to you, I can't imagine why, when Harry wrote that book, that somebody didn't help him if he put that down willingly. Meghan, didn't she read it? Of course she did. Did she help him and say, what on earth are you doing? The editor of the publishing house, the lawyer who would have read it through from the publicity house, publishing house. There's so many people who could said, do you really, really want to say this? You do know that in America, they can send you home because of this drug taking. I can't imagine Harry saying, blow that. I just can't imagine it.
Let's move on to the real royals, okay? Princess Anne, lovely Princess Anne.
Yes.
Actually, and I said this at the time, Andrew, I don't know if you remember, when she had that horse riding accident last year, it was far more serious than what the royal family tried to let on.
Yes, you were quite right, as you often are.
So what do we know? What do we know? How bad was it?
Well, she said that she's just spoken about it. She was found unconscious at her Gatcombe Park estate, and subsequently spent 5 days in hospital, and then went home because she had all the things that she needed. She's 74, and she insists she's not slowing down anytime soon. But King Charles is deeply worried about her and says, you're extremely lucky. And she says, if you can continue to be more or less compos mentis, which means you know what you're doing. And last summer, I was very close to not being that. So there we have that. When she was asked, did she have any memory of what happened last year? And she said, no, nothing. I know where I thought I was going, and that was to the chickens. I did nothing with the horses. Seeing the chickens was my regular visit. I don't have any idea what I was doing in the field, because I never normally went that way. So she adds, I won't talk more than this. It just reminds you, shows you, you never quite know. Something happens and you might not recover. I take each day as it comes. So it's very interesting. She's very brave because she went off to Cape Town, the first foreign tour this year. And she's always coming in to fill what's needed without any complaints or wanting praise. She just does it. But I think it's given her a huge shock to know what happened to her. And it must be so frustrating for such a strong, powerful, intelligent woman with a good memory that she doesn't know how it happened. It must lurk in her mind a great deal. But she must also be very careful about how she is nowadays, I think. It's a lesson.
It's just crazy to think of Princess Anne being 74, isn't it? Now, I know you're 74 years young these days, Angela. We live in a very different world, and
I wouldn't know.
No, you would not even close. Not even close. But you know what I'm saying? People live for much longer, but she is an incredibly active, fit woman, and she works her behind off. She is regularly the hardest working member of the royal family. She does it in a very no-nonsense manner. She's always loved riding. She's always loved her exercise. She's always loved her sport. But I guess it's that terrible reality that at 74 years old, actually, maybe there does have to be some sort of change. But again, I can never imagine Princess Anne retiring, for example. So thank God she wasn't brain damaged in the way that she hinted she could have been very easily.
Yes. Absolutely. But she's also a very good mother. Both her children adore her, and she is very nice, and a grandmother. You could think that because she's so efficient that she would just get on with the work. But she's absolutely adored by her family, which I think is an amazing combination of what she can do. Remarkable woman, absolutely remarkable.
And I think
she said about she would never finish. She just said, is she going to slow down and go out? She said, I don't think so. I don't think there's a retirement program on this particular life.
Very true. And it doesn't fit her spirit. I mean, I think the reason she's so beloved by us, the public, is because she has a lot of the stoicism and the work ethic of her late mother, Queen Elizabeth II.
And father.
Absolutely.
Philip
and
thought
father.
She was just like him. And he thought that if there wasn't this thing that you couldn't be next king if you're a girl, that she would have made a wonderful queen. He has said that several times. I'm sure he's right. But we've got a wonderful king now, so we're okay.
Very true, very true. But goodness me, she would have been a great queen, wouldn't she, Princess Anne? She would have been a great, great queen.
Yeah. Stand no nonsense queen.
Yeah.
But very loving and hardworking.
Yeah, and I think that's how we like the members of our royal family. But anyway, I knew it was serious. I said at the time, the one thing the royal family are bad at, Angela, let's just be honest about this. They don't like being honest about their health issues. And which is why, for example, we don't even now know the details of the king's cancer treatment, which is ongoing, etc., etc. So I knew that it was bad at the time, but thank goodness she is okay. And Angela Levin, we will speak later in the week.
Yes, look forward to that.
Thank you so much, Angela.
This story usually refers to an old legal principle dating back to the early 1700s under King George I. At that time, the monarch was considered the legal guardian of royal heirs. This rule was created in a very different era, long before modern family law, international residence rights, and parental custody protections. Today, parental rights, citizenship laws, and international legal protections are vastly different. Archie and Lilibet live in the United States with their parents, and modern courts, not the monarch, govern custody matters. This makes the historical rule largely symbolic rather than practical. The video likely frames this historical detail as a present-day power the king could use. It presents the idea as leverage or a looming possibility connected to family tensions. But this framing turns constitutional trivia into a modern legal scenario that has no evidence behind it. Prince Harry has spoken publicly about security concerns and whether his family can safely visit the UK. These comments are often connected to the guardianship story to create the impression that something larger is unfolding behind the scenes. In reality, the two issues are not directly linked. We know Harry and Meghan are the legal parents and primary guardians of their children. We know there has been no statement or legal move from the palace suggesting anything like this. We know this idea comes from historical context, not current events. This is a classic example of how historical facts can be repurposed into modern drama. Commentary presents possibility as probability and theory as threat. Understanding that difference is key. So, can the king realistically stop Archie and Lilibet from returning to the UK? There is no evidence to suggest that, and modern law makes it highly unlikely. What we are seeing is how royal history and family tension can be woven into a compelling but speculative narrative. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below.